Hello and welcome. This is Marzul, and this is my FTB Interactions base tour. Um, so this entire giant area is what I use as my base, but it started with this single wooden house where I hid for the first few nights while everything was terrible. I slowly expanded the area because zombies used to be able to break torches. They don't anymore, so it's less of a problem. So I expanded kind of this single ring here, had a bunch of crops, had my sheep, that kind of stuff. This astral stuff used to be on top of a building, but I tore down the building because I got tired of running in and out. So it just kind of floats here now, but that's just kind of how it is. My Lucerna ritual, keeping everything safe. It's Gelu boosted, so it goes out 2,000 blocks or something like that. This is my crazy gnarly Botania setup. It's mainly used for the terrestrial agglomeration plate here. You put ingredients in and the factory manager spits things out, and then you can grab the results from here. This is my Thaumcraft setup. It has 4.55 gain because of all the candles. I highly recommend you do that. It stops anything bad from happening. There's a roof up there in case of rifts, but I haven't gotten any rifts, so it's not really that important. Blood magic. This is probably freaking out because I have too many things. That's a chaotic core spawner at this point, just because this is how I get my drops of evil to make liquid nightmares. This is the second base I kind of migrated into, and I tore most of it down because, again, I got tired of running in and out. This is where most of my MV machines were initially. This was run by two large bronze boilers. There's just one now, and it's across a chunk border, so it breaks half the time when I log in. But this basically only was powering a biodiesel setup, which I no longer need, but that's kind of what it was for. And then I built this monstrosity of a base. It's still not finished, even though I have the key, because I don't really need to keep going, but I was going to use Glax from Xtones and Vena, but I got lazy and didn't fill in all the windows. This is my DML setup. It is doing Thermal, Witch, Spider, Blaze, and Enderman, because I use all those products pretty often. Two LSBs, which power a handful of things. I just don't know where or what exactly. It just kind of runs off of those pyrolyse ovens right there. Couple chickens for dye. I never got around to making a lens though, so oh well. Gas charging pad when I had airtight on my armor. These are all smog chickens making charcoal byproducts. These two distillation towers are EV, and just to keep up like a little more than is necessary, it's also handling the byproducts from the pyrolysis there. These tanks are the only dynamic tanks I have, and they are handling the 3 different products, which then separate in these distillation towers to all the different products. These setups here for styrene or polystyrene, styrene butadiene, and silicon rubber is typically what I've got running around in here. Over here is my diesel setup. This all produces nitrodiesel, and then I added this here to do Nicoadriatic fuel. These distillation towers are making, diesel and refinery gas, and that would be naphtha, but I'm using it all. Back here are all of my assemblers. I would have done more, but I actually ran out of channels on like 2 networks doing these plus all these machines. So it got kind of out of control. These are my on-demand and auto-grafting machines. I have a few just scattered randomly because I needed the power. These do kind of most of the things, with the exception of bending, lathes, wire mills, and macerating, because those I needed bigger arrays for. Over here is my blast furnace room. I have a vacuum freezer. This is also where my implosion compressor is. You can see I planned out to have 12 more blast furnaces. I just never actually needed them. Um, these are all on ZPM right now, but I was mainly using EV to get kind of all the way through most of the pack. So that's kind of the first floor and all my portals. So I'm going to go up a floor. Oop, lag spike. These gassy chickens are making hydrogen because I needed a lot of it for a while. I've got a handful more machines here and some laser engravers. This all was to make toluene. I had a watch of flowing time. It's accelerating that. This is my disassembler, but I don't use it very often. All the trophies. I should probably display those better, but I don't really care. This is UU matter replication setups, and I stuck this here because I just needed some EV power to make HPICs. And then this is replicating gallium because I was sick of trying to get it because it's annoying to process. I'm sure many of you are kind of aware. And then we'll go up to the top floor. This is my photofissions and steam turbines. There's 8 of them here. These are powering a lot. This area here is my EV ore processing setup. It's not balanced or anything in particular, and it only goes up through the blazing pyrotheum step. So, 2, 4, 6, or 8, 16. So it does 16x. I never bothered going further. It has a few problems, and the biggest one is that this sometimes ends up with bad products in it because I didn't filter completely correctly, but it also does packaging from here and sifting for a handful of things where I want the exquisites. I don't do it for every gem because it's not worth it. I stuck down some IV machines here because I initially got some power and then I had some cables here, so this got kind of messy, but this was where things like this is my LUV assembling machine, IV assembling machines, laser engravers, etc. I ran out of space inside, so I started on the roof. Assembly line, of course. This is just making lubricant because I got lazy after I got the key. This fusion reactor is specifically for nickel plasma. But again, I have the key, so whatever. This tower of generators is easily handled just by that. This isn't actually necessary. I had to stick a watch flowing time here though, because when I went to make the key I didn't have enough power in the assembly line and it wouldn't start the craft, so that was bad. This was a fusion reactor. I tore it down because I wanted to complete all the quests. So when I did this quest, I tore it down to take the coils out just so they'd trigger again. I didn't bother actually rebuilding it because you don't need a tier 3 fusion reactor. What else? This tree farm has been here since almost the beginning. It feeds quite a bit of stuff. Brine tower, of course. And let's see. I've got blood magic over here. You can see this site is where my Mark of the Falling Tower was. I forgot to replace the obsidian when I mined it, and it's gone. So now I get this cool pattern on the ground. This right here was antimatter automation, but it broke. That might actually fix it. Nope, doesn't fix it. You can see I've had mishaps several times now. This broke, but I have like 2,000 buckets of it, so I don't really care. And now for the insane underground area. So this is the bottom floor of my base, and it is just wires and conduits and cables, and these are my arrays for things like bending, etc. This mana here produces mana for a few of my setups. I made a ring of ME controllers. You don't need this many. Mostly the 8 from the original. I've color coded to make P2P easier because I don't put the P2P directly on the face. Otherwise, I typically would stick with like 1 in, 1 out, but I do 1 in and a whole bunch out so that I can split things up. This is just a lot of different electrolyzing processes. So this was doing barite, this was doing chromite, This was doing rare earths, that kind of stuff. And then these electrolyzers were entirely for tungstate because it was processing too slow and I got frustrated. But overall, this pack has been a lot of fun, and I've had a really good time getting all the way through it. I think it took me about 400 and something hours, although a bunch of that was just AFK, kind of hanging out overnight when I was sleeping because I needed things to process, mostly my ore processing setup. But I had a blast, and I hope everybody else enjoys it too. All right, thanks.